Hello everyone, welcome back to Blitz. Today I'll be tackling the last boss of the first map in Dragon's Belly. So the thing with Dragon's Belly is he is a mix of several of the green archetypes. So for green you got archers, which is a pretty new archetype, evolve, poison and shrubbosaurs, and he mainly has evolve and poison, with some thorns mixed in, which isn't like a doesn't have its own dedicated mercenary, but it has a lot of cards strewn throughout all of the archetypes, mainly poison and archer. So this boss, I would say, is kind of middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. I've already mentioned Tusker Lox is kind of the hardest one because he basically has double HP with his relic and trinkets. That Leviathan, although he can be pretty overwhelming because of his unique mechanic with the extra mana, he is very easy if you properly prepare for him. So Dragon's Belly, Sting is kind of right in the middle, where he doesn't really overwhelm you as much as Tusker Lox, but he can be pretty annoying, sort of a very balanced deck that can live for quite a while, especially because of the Doom hook his minions have, with Thorns have lifesteal. So expect the fight to go on for a while. So because of Evolve being a decent, making up a decent chunk of the cards he has, it does nerf a lot of minion strats, kind of similar to Leviathan, who has a lot of removal. It's not as bad as with Leviathan. Like, you can definitely try to play something like cannons, for example, which I would say is the most, like, have your minions present on the board for an extended period of time kind of deck. And just hope that he doesn't draw any of the buff caps. But ideally, you try to circumvent that risk. And then there's the poison, of course, which deals like unavoidable chip damage throughout the course of the battle, which means if you're going for S rank, you need some kind of sustain as well. Also, the fact that poison is a spell card means that any kind of riff effect benefits quite a lot. And any kind of relic that triggers of spell plays is also very beneficial. So this puts Res up as a mercenary pick, who is already very good against most decks. I have praised her a lot in the last two videos as well. The reason why I haven't played her yet is because I'm kind of reserving her for the next map, where she'll be pretty crucial. And but yeah, it's also a way to avoid the older minion evolutions, just because Res is a spell heavy deck where you don't rely on your minions. Alternatively, Lystra Starscale fits the bill of having a riff effect, as well as having a sustain effect. So pick up a couple of Lystra Starscale, buff her up, and that'll also probably be a very viable option to go about it. Bang! Before I made this little series, I didn't realize how well Bang matches up against all of the map 1 bosses, but he also has a very good matchup um, against Sting, just because his bombs give you some kind of instant payoff for playing your minions, so they don't necessarily have to stay on the board. And one of his relics is a pretty good counter against Evolve as well. It's this one, Big Bomb, after a card is shuffled into any deck, do 1 damage to a random enemy minion. So this includes cards played by the enemy. So yeah, I'd say that Bang is probably either the best or second best pick against that particular boss, just because of that relic, which will keep the board clean throughout most of the fight. However, I have played Bang in both the last run and the run before that. The first run was focused around Bang, mixed with Admiral Brass and sort of like a pirate deck, and the second one, Bang, was more of a support deck, just some chip damage with bombs and some removal with Incinerate. But yeah, I kind of don't want to pick Bang 3 times in a row. Instead, what I'll be going for is basically hard countering the enemy poison by picking Lieutenant Juniper, and pick a relic that was newly added to the game. It's, where can I find it? It's gonna be one of the purple border ones. Here we go. Vile Blood Charm. Immune to poison damage, and after your player poison, add it to the enemy hand. So just straight up kill and completely obliterate 1/2 of the enemy strat. Just not only becoming immune, but throwing it all back to the enemy. I think will be very powerful. I was kind of gonna save up Lieutenant Juniper for the Starscape Plains as well, just like Rez, because she also has some very neat strategies on that map in particular. However, the things that Lieutenant Juniper does on Southern Seas and the things she does in Starscape Plains are quite distinct, so I feel like doubling up on using her isn't going to be that repetitive, just because types of events she exploits are quite different. So on Southern Seas, what I'm going to be looking for is the Dragon Fight, which can give me an epic trinket which buffs the Grovekeeper, and yeah, that's probably like the biggest buff she can get. Other than that, the Ramp trinket on Lieutenant Juniper, being a very cheap legendary minion and Keen having a lot of payoff for Ramp, is also a good choice. So that's probably what I am gonna go for. In terms of other minions, I think that there's not that much variation to the first video. Most of the things I said about Leviathan, with decks vulnerable to removal, also applies to Sting, kinda. Admiral Brass, kind of always good. Bang, I've mentioned, is fantastic. Breaks, just not very good on this map in general. Musket has a very specific thing he can do in that map that's kind of hard to pull off, but technically doable. Unplayable against Leviathan with the heavy focus on removal. risky but playable against Sting, where the removal is less consistent. Res is very good. Lustra is better on this map than the other two. Abraxas. Abraxas is interesting. So I've mentioned Abraxas in the very first video as having the ability to sort of go for a control style deck on this map. Usually, her strongest strategy is going for very quick scaling on these 1-drops and 2-drops. But scaling just doesn't really go very well with the fleeting mask, which makes minions with 5 or more power disappear after the first hit. But instead you can go for the relic that attacks minions upon discarding cards. This one, once per turn, after you discard a card, deals with 3 draconic damage randomly split among all enemy minions. And then just try to load up her ultimate Ancient Oblivion, where after you play 8 dragon minions, you deal damage equal to the cost of the cards you've discarded, which if you have a couple of expensive cards in the deck, can easily get up to something like 40 damage. Yeah, Dragon Band is kind of just generically quite alright. Always usually more of a support deck for whatever other mercenary you pick up, but can be very viable in its own right with Void Agent. Gizmo is kind of risky because of Evolve, and it's kind of just not very good on that map in general. Wick is kind of more of a support hero, I would say. Ziggy is not very viable because he cancel fight 1 where you have to deal 15 damage. Professor Gearhart is I haven't actually thought about this one. It's a pretty new mercenary. On first side, I'd say she has trouble winning fight 1. But if you do get through, well, the main strategy that I've utilized with her is kind of like an aggro strat, where your traps spawn rush flying minions. And in that sense, she might be able to pull off something similar to Admiral Brass, although maybe a little less reliable, so probably kind of usable. Nilmi is a pretty solid pick most of the time. I've utilized Nilmi in yesterday's run against Leviathan. I think similarly to Leviathan, Nilmi can circumvent the minion removal by just getting all of the value from the minions on the turn you play them, or also play some big spells like Apex Strike. And Nilmi also works well with the Necro Hammer, which gains you armor, so that's the way to counteract poison. Piper has an interesting option with the Mana Knight. Is a scaling card, yes. But if you are careful not to scale the Mana Knight beyond the 4 power limit, and get like the dual strike relic, that could be one way to deal with the boss. One thing about Piper is he has some death rattle minions. Like Shiver Shade is a good source for Piper to deal a lot of damage. However, death rattles are disabled when minions evolve, so this kind of makes Piper worse, and it also makes Dragon Brand worse if you don't find a way to instantly kill your minions somehow with Hothead, for example. Katana deck's just not very good in general. So Devour deck's just not very good on this map in particular. Archer is just not very good on this map in particular. Parsley, I imagine is pretty funny because Parsley is the evolved deck, so you kind of get into an evolved battle. I haven't tried that yet, but yeah, basically give the run into the hands of RNG. And then Shrubbosaurs are a bit of a have some trouble because they're kind of reliant on getting a lot of stats and big power minions to die. However, they can get so much power instantly that even if they die from having fleeting, they might just be able to take down the enemy. So Willy is probably kind of usable. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Lieutenant Juniper. I'm gonna look to either find the relic that just completely kills poison, or alternatively, if I don't see that relic, I'll be happy to take the other Nilmi relic, which is the Slitherthorn Quiver, and gives me some removal spells, which makes it very easy for Nilmi to beat the Ember Drake fight. One of the best relics for poison deck as well is the Crimson Flute. Opponent spell cost 1 more, so poison is a spell that could usually cost 1 mana, and now it costs 2 mana, which is just incredible in terms of how much it slows down the enemy, especially in the early game. A lot of the times the enemy AI won't even play the poison, but if the enemy AI doesn't play the poison, then it just dies. So yeah, I think I am gonna unban that. The third poison specific relic is Spore Venom. Poisons deal 1 more damage. Sounds pretty good, like normal damage on poisons. However, I do think that the slow down of like having to play the poisons is one of the main effects that poison actually has. And I think that in a lot of cases the Vileplume charm achieves a similar effect because you get more poison into the enemy hand, which does mean that the poisons deal more damage, and they also have to spend more mana, so kind of like a mix of the Crimson Flute and the Vileplume charm. It also scales up your ultimate faster. As for the ultimate, Lieutenant Juniper has 2 choices: either Curse Concoctions, which allows you to scale up the poison once the enemy plays enough of them. You can either make them more expensive, make them heal you, or make them deal more damage. Yeah, I think all 3 of those upgrades are very usable. If the fight is gonna go on for some time, then I'd suggest picking up the Vile Blood Concoction. If extra damage is gonna kill off the enemy quicker, then go for extra damage. Going for more expensive poison is probably not gonna be that effective at first, because most of the time when you get the ultimate, the enemy is already gonna have enough mana that and not that many cards that the enemy's gonna be able to play whatever he wants to play and play the poison as well. So this is more of a thing where once you've played that ultimate several times and you have both extra damage and healing turned on, well, mostly the extra damage, because the extra damage actually triggers on being in hand instead of being played, then you can start bumping up the price and hope to overwhelm the enemy. And alternatively, there's the Noxious Cascade. That used to be the only ultimate for Lieutenant Juniper, which was very situational. Once the opponent plays enough poison, you can convert poison into Noxious Arrows, which are removal cards. Against bosses that play very large minions, that's actually pretty good ultimate. One of the biggest issues with poison is that once you go into the late game, it just kind of doesn't do that much, and converting poison into removal can swing the tides of the battle. So even though it's not a game-winning ultimate against something like Mini Magoo or other minions that play other bosses that play big minions, it can definitely be useful. So in this case, Evolve can cause some pretty big minions to be spawned onto the board. But again, it's not like, since the boss is sort of a mix of several archetypes, no archetype will completely stand out, so it's not gonna be spamming Evolve, which means that I probably don't need the ultimate, the removal ultimate, and instead go for the scaling poison. As for minions, so I think that Poison Puff Grenade is basically a must-have. It's just an extremely good removal card. It deals 4 damage to an enemy minion and 2 to all other enemy minions, which means that it deals 6 to 1 minion, making it very good single target removal. But also 2 damage to all other enemy minions makes it a board clear as well. And if you buff it up with a +1 damage trinket, it's 5 damage to an enemy minion and 3 to all other enemy minions, so it scales twice off of damage buff as well. I like using Spore Whisper and Grove Keeper personally, both cards that just add poison into the enemy hand. I think since I'm gonna try to look for the Wild Plume Charm, I'm gonna use Spore Whisper, who adds a poison to your hand and the enemy hand, and with the Wild Plume Charm, the poison I add into my hand can be converted into a second poison for the enemy. Or alternatively, if you add a lot of poisons into the enemy hand, it gains extra stats instead. And I'll also be keeping the Grove Keeper as a epic minion with 1 power, which is very valuable on this map because you can buff it with the +3/+3 epic trinket, making the Grove Keeper a 4/5, which is just barely enough power to circumvent the Fleeting Mask, where your 5 power minions die. But for a 2-drop 4 power is also just very painful, especially if the enemy is slowed down by having to play these poison cards. Alternatively, there is the Marshfellow Archer, which is kind of slow. It adds poisons into the enemy hand whenever it damages the hero, but since it has Summoning Sickness and no way of gaining Rush, it's a lot of times not gonna get off a single poison with 3 health, or at most like get off 1 poison, where you play the card, the enemy blocks it with something, and then you kind of have to buff it as well, so it can go through the block and actually hit the enemy. But then on the next turn, the enemy can attack and kill the archer. Sliverthorn Archer is interesting after your opponent plays a spell attack, which, obviously that's meant to pair up with the poison. It's a good target for the +2 power trinket you can get on this map and the Seafin Shrine. So up to 4 extra damage for every poison that the enemy has to play is quite interesting, especially if you combine it with the 5 mana minion that adds 3 poison into the enemy hand. So you play this on 4, and the next turn you play your 5, add 3 poisons to the enemy hand, and convert it into 50 damage, like 3 from the poison themselves, and then another 12 from the Silverthorn Archer. I think it might be a little slow, but definitely one way to get a payoff for poisons. And the Immorasaur, which makes damage spells more expensive, which is meant to target the poisons. It's basically 2 more, because Immorasaur has overgrowth, so it spawns 2 copies of itself. However, it's extremely frail for a 4 mana minion, so a lot of the times it will just immediately die and not really gonna do anything. So yeah. And there's also the Rotting Puff, which I don't really like. It gives poison on death, but it doesn't have any power stat. It's kind of meant to be an intersection between poison and evolve, because it triggers its death rattle when it's evolving, which makes it usable against the boss, I suppose. But it just is kind of too slow and too weak in the early fights, in my experience. So yeah, Spore Whisper, Grovekeeper, Poison Puff Grenade. It's gonna be what I'm going with. As for relics, I'll have I abandoned the Crimson Flute because it's actually very strong with the poison deck, which means I can ban 1 more relic. Soul Spark is notable for the poison deck, because a lot of poison cards trigger on plate, so extra plate effects can be pretty strong. Firestone is a very strong relic, because the hero especially likes having Hothead. I think I'll actually ban the Heavy Sword. Once I buff my minions to full power, I don't want them to actually accidentally gain an extra power from something like the Heavy Sword. And then as for trinkets, so yeah, keeping those 3 banned as usual. I could unban thorns. There are some minions that you kind of just want as a blocker in the poison deck that you might give inanimate to, so having thorns is kind of not that bad. I think I will ban Lifesteal, just because it makes minions very expensive. Then I think I will ban double stats for epic minions. Just because, again, there's that limitation with the 5 power, and if I do want to get to just slightly below that 4 power limit, I'd rather reach it with +3/+3 than the double stats. Usually, like last time, I unbanned it because Nolmi is a 2/2, so she would get to a 4/4 with that trinket, but yeah, with the Grove Keeper, I'm not buffing it to a 2/4 and make it more expensive if I can get a 4/5 instead. Right, Dragon's Belly. Here we go. Thief Ape and Emberwhelp. I have talked about Sea Ape before. Very dangerous first fight with all max turned on, because if he gets some cannons down, those can make it very difficult to put enough minions on the board to get through to the enemy and deal damage. And since he will have 15 HP with the armor mask, it's very likely that he'll get some cannons. So I'll be fighting Emberwhelp instead, which is also not the best fight, but should be manageable. In terms of nodes, there is an Ember Drake on this map. It's very late, like just right before the boss. But at least it is possible to get it. And there is also the Seafin Shrine, which is one of the 3 main nodes to look out for. The other one is the Supply Closet, which is also on the map. So it's actually possible to get all 3 like most important nodes on this map. Supply Closet, then Seafin Shrine, and then Ember Drake later on in the run. In terms of trinket shops, nothing in the first act. Like, I would have to avoid the Supply Closet and the Seafin Shrine. And I would have to do the elite fight in the second act as well. This is the easy elite fight, I will say, between Skull Recruit and Elder Goldswing. Elder Goldswing is pretty easy compared to most of the fights, so maybe depending on what Tavern Recruit I get, I will actually skip all of these important nodes. Just because Ember Drake is very late anyway, and the Skull Recruit is a pretty deadly battle. Yes, pretty fitting name. And trinket shops are pretty important for Lieutenant Juniper, because she really wants to get Hothead. The difference between a Lieutenant Juniper with Hothead and without is immense. With Hothead, she becomes like basically like an immediate removal spell that can also just keep a lane clear, and without it, it's very possible that he has to take a hit, and then is probably low enough in terms of health that she'll just die next turn. Alright, well, it's very possible that I lose this fight. Lieutenant Juniper can struggle to get through the 15 HP. Okay, just playing the poison, which allows Grovekeeper to get some damage in. And then I will play a couple of buffed Spore Whispers, because if the enemy blocks those, I can use the Poison Puff Grenade to clear the board. Just like that. And that should be the end of the battle. Because I have 2 Poison Puff Grenades and I deal 5 damage now, so next turn I can use Poison Puff Grenade again and get the last bit of damage in. And the enemy doesn't even really block. Can I get the overkill is the question. Like for S rank, I need to get 5 overkill at some point. So if I don't clear the board now, I deal 3. And so next turn I would have to deal 7 somehow. I could only do 6 really, so yeah. If I play both of these, like Grovekeeper adds a poison and then I play a 2 Spore Whisper. So I will just end the battle. I had a pretty good draw order. The enemy didn't block at some points. The usual with the poison, but yeah, just without the enemy AI being dumb, it's very much possible that you missed the 15 damage mark in this fight. For my first cut reward, I have a perk that I don't care about at all, pretty much. Removal. So another Poison Puff Grenade is pretty nice. Fireball is a good way to get some damage through. One of the main problems with Lieutenant Juniper is that she just doesn't have enough damage to kill the enemy in her starting deck. So Fireball can definitely help out with that, especially if I get like a +3 damage trinket on it. Lowlife Fisher is there, I guess. Probably wouldn't have taken. This one has a Marshfellow Knight. I like this one a lot. Marshfellow Knight has guard, so makes you take less damage, and also adds poison into the enemy hand whenever he takes damage. So a very nice blocker unit. You can enhance them with like tough and plus HP to stay in the board for even longer, and add a lot of poisons into the enemy hand. Way more than something like the Marshfellow Archer. Noxious Arrow is also, it's a single target remove that I also really like having one copy in the deck of, just because then I can buff the Noxious Arrow if I get the relic, that gives me 3 of those at the start of battle. Amoroso, it's one of the starter cards. I mentioned that it's not that good, so I will pick the Vicious Venom. And then I will go to the next relic node. So, do we must break? Not particularly good, just because can't really utilize the scaling to the fullest potential. Board clear is nice, but no particular synergy or anti-synergy going on between Juniper and Break, so very much justified to Skull. Quill, or actually Wick. Quill is the yellow guy in the story mode. Not much going on over here. Usually Wick is a pretty good top-end card. Gets cheaper when you play cards from other factions, with other factions referring to your starting faction, not to the faction Wick is in, so this would actually get cheaper by playing yellow cards. Budding Pickpocket is a little pricey. However, Hothead is a decent effect, like it can remove a crucial minion and it does give you some kind of card advantage. So does stab and grab. Brigade Cadets is usually something that you want to remove, because it's a pretty weak one-drop. Brigade traps just don't really do anything. Like, the enemy doesn't really have to draw them, and even once it draws them, the minions that those brigade traps spawn tend to be kind of weak. Which means that I'll probably pick up Bang once again. Bombs are a damage solution. And he has like stole kind of style, with lots of armor to pair well with the poison stole. So they combine to be kind of a very control-y type of deck. So does Wick, like not this selection of cards in particular, but the yellow card pool just has a lot of cards that contribute to a good control deck. Lieutenant Juniper and yellow deck is something I played a lot in the past. Particularly the removal spells in yellow are just pretty good because they both have removal and card advantage written on them. So I think Bang is the strongest choice here. I've picked him in literally every fight in this series so far. However, there are still more things to explore with Bang. Like, for example, I haven't seen the Bomber Bird once. So the issue with yellow is that I don't see how I kill the enemy right now with yellow. Because yellow doesn't have a lot of good top-end cards either. Especially ones that work around the 5-power restriction. So yeah. I guess I'll pick Behang once again and remove Burst and then see if I can make another distinct deck involving Bang. I think Bang is quite does provide a lot of variety, so I'm not too upset about picking him thrice in a row. Main question now is, do I have campfires where I can remove the 1-drop burst? There is one campfire before the elite over here. Going to the supply closet is also good thing before the elite, because I can get the sustained trinket. Plus 5 health on plate for an uncommon minion. So, Grove Keeper or possibly Jolly Bomber. Alternatively, this has a campfire pretty late into the act. I want to go for the elite in the second half. There's only one campfire in the full route. There is a way in Act 1 to get 2 campfires. Fantasy and Shrine. I think I kind of like this path the most. I should be able to handle the elite thanks to the sustain that the supply closet trinket can give me. Ooh. Interesting choice. I just thought about Soul Spark. I don't know if the relic works on blade effects added by trinkets. I would kind of be interested in seeing that. So what Soul Spark does is it adds a Spark Essence every turn, and a Spark Essence can re-trigger plate effects. I've mentioned that being strong for poisons. It is also strong for bomb cards, notably. Like, I can keep adding bombs with the Jolly Bomber, or I can keep adding poisons with the Grove Keeper. But Slither, Thorn, Quiver, and Vileblood Charm are also strong choices. So Vileblood Charm is the just counter the enemy relic. What I was planning around. Slither, Thorn, Quiver is what I would pick up if I was fighting the Ember Drake early on. Just because it kills his treasures very quickly. But I kind of want to try out Soul Spark, because I do have the extra bombs as well. It's kind of interesting. 2 green battles, huh? I either poison or evolve on thorns. This battle, Grand Perico, is actually pretty similar to the boss battle. If I picked the poison relic, I would obviously fight the poison enemy, Archetypes. I think instead I will be fighting Evolve. This can be a dangerous fight, but he doesn't have his Brambled Cutlass relic. So yeah, do I play Burst in this fight? Maybe. I think my deck is thick enough where I'm not too worried about adding bomb to my deck. And yeah, a bomb can take off a good chunk of health. And notably, the Spark Essence also works with the Spore Whisper. Like I can play the Spore Whisper, add poison, retrigger the Spore Whisper, and immediately get the buff of having played the poison. Oh, yeah. Pretty fun combo. Huh? I also drew my bomb early, but I guess that's fair enough, since the same happened to the enemy. I will remove one of his buff cap launchers. Those add a buff cap every turn, which is the card that evolves other minions. And then with extra poison he got, I will scale my Spore Whisper. And then I guess I will just block this Fungus Fleetfoot. So here you can see the difference between Lieutenant Juniper having Hot Hat and not having it. If I had Hot Hat, this Juniper could be put down in this lane and just immediately remove the 7-mana minion. But now without, it would just die next turn. If I played it, and Ruby Ray would just survive still. So instead what I will do is I will play Spore Whisper and a Doom Recruit, block this lane twice in case he gets like a Hot Hat minion. And I'll buff the Spore Whisper one more time. And oh yeah, this is actually lethal. Didn't realize the enemy had this little health already. So pretty smooth fight. So there's more bombs. Blast Mage deals damage based on the bombs you shuffled into the enemy deck. Don't want to take those chests yet, because I'm not that reliable at adding bombs. Blast Guard also gives you armor based on the bombs you shuffled into any deck. Nice thing about Blast Mage is the fact that it's another played card. So if I do get a Blast Mage down, I can keep retriggering the Blast Mage and just keep clearing the board. So it's worth a consideration. I could take this as a prospective pick and try to lean into bombs more. There's Vicious Venom. Attacks when the enemy plays a spell. That's one of the starter cards, which is pretty decent. Vileshade Phantom, discard all poisons and gain +1/+1 for each, and it also has Rush. So again, scaling minions are a bit nerfed on this map. However, anything that gains like a one instant big buff instead of scaling over time is more usable than other scaling minions, just because you can scale this to a very large damage number and just get a bunch of push a bunch of damage through to the enemy. It is the case with this one. It can be kind of difficult to play as a 6, because if you play, like, for example, add 3 poisons as a 5, the enemy might just play all the poisons and then this doesn't do anything. However, this having rush and an epic tag is pretty good in and of itself. And there's also Venom Capsule, just a bunch of keywords. Basically, this one is able to indefinitely keep a lane clear. Poisonous means it can insta-kill any minions. Swift Strike means it doesn't take any return damage. Dual Strike means it can hit both minions. Minion 1 dies, minion 2 dies, the lane is clear. Hothead minion. Hothead means it immediately activates its effect, basically, and can immediately clear the lane. So that one's pretty nice. It's quite expensive, 7 mana. But if you do go for a stall kind of build, this is one way to extend the stall. Just not really a way to finish off the enemy. And then there's War. I like Rock quite a bit. Armor is good. You can put draw trinkets on it, and then draw is good as well. Ember Drake is an interesting option, because I do have the Spark Essence, so I do have a guaranteed spell, a cheap one at that, every turn. However, if I do pick a sort of keep the board clear card, I'd pick Blast Mage over Ember Drake. And yeah, I think I will try out the Blast Mage. This, like, Blast Mage and the Spark Essence just seems to be a very solid combo. Keep the board clear indefinitely. So this would kind of incentivize me to keep the burst. However, I don't really want to add bombs to my own deck. So I will still remove the burst and rely on the Jolly Bomber Spark Essence for now. And then if I get another good bomb card, there is a good campfire path in Act 2. If I don't fight the elite. Now, Lieutenant Juniper does like to go to the supply closet, because the supply closet has something for intelligent. You can get one free trinket, which usually you're only interested in one trinket anyway. 3 trinkets he offers is +5 health on plate for an uncommon, a ramp trinket for legendary minions, which is usually very expensive, so you don't have a lot of opportunities to get it, and -2 cost on epics, but they basically buff the enemy when the minion dies. So -2 cost on epics. I mean, I could make... I think that one doesn't actually have a cost restriction, funnily enough, so I could put it on the Grove Keeper. Ramp is enticing, however, if I do spend too much money here, I can't buy all the trinkets I want from the Seafen Shrine. And the Seafen Shrine... I mean, I definitely want to get the +2 power. And ideally, I want to get it on, like, either the Grove Keeper or the Jolly Bomber. Just whatever whatever gets the sustain trinket. So yeah, I think I will pick the 1 free trinket. And I'll pick the pickled tentacle. When played, heal your hero by 5 HP. And the question is, do I put it on the Grove Keeper, which I have more copies of, or the Jolly Bomber, which I'm more interested in repeating with the Soul Spark? Act 2 does open up the possibility of getting a +3/+3 on the Grove Keeper too. Blast Mage kind of incentivizes me to go for more Jolly Bomber triggered plays though. What else would benefit from the +2, like if I don't give it? It's sad that I am not seeing a Boom Bird. I mean, I can still give Grove Keeper +3/+3, I suppose. If I add more triggers to the Grove Keeper, it does have the advantage that I'm basically trading mana with the enemy, because I spend 1 mana to add 1 poison that costs the enemy 1 mana. And since the second pack has so many campfires, I might just give the +3/+3 to Lieutenant Juniper as well. Which makes for a very tanky minion. And also Archer pairs well with high power. I just need to find Hothead somehow. I think I will go for the Jolly Bomber. Right. More bombs means more removal with Blast Mage. Unfortunately, I don't remember if I see more shops, which would give me more opportunities to add more Jolly Bombers. The advantage with Grove Keeper is that it would take up my ultimate too. I'll go with Jolly Bomber for the novelty. And I draw 2 Jolly Bombers and some removal as well. I think I really like that start. And I think I'm fine with just blocking this. And I'll keep adding bombs. I take damage, however I can easily regen that damage. Next turn I can clear the board with Poison Puff Grenade. Leave no survivors for the death trigger. And now the enemy's kind of running out of cards. And I think I'll destroy that minion immediately before he has a chance to buff it with a Skull Recruit. Keep adding bombs. Keep healing. Want to keep that for the big minion. Yeah, like this one. If I kill every enemy now, I'm dealing 6. Still haven't gotten the overkill. So there is a chance that I might get it this fight. Like, I can remove anything that the enemy draws, however, yeah, this can happen. And if the enemy doesn't draw 2 bombs in a row, I don't get it. I might get the overkill eventually with Bang, with all the bombs I'm adding. So, got some neutrals I don't care about. Wildshade Phantom returns. Rotting Puff returns with an unfortunate combination of trinkets. I mean, Thorns is pretty alright for a 0 power minion. Hothead is quite useless. Or I can take another Noxious Arrow. A Shipwreck as a Wrath effect. I don't really care about a Wrath effect with 2 Blast Mages in my deck and 2 Poison Puff Grenades. Another Noxious Arrow seems alright. Problem is I wouldn't pick up anything with a Trinket, which is like one of the main benefits of going to an elite. Kind of want to see some bomb payoff possibly as well. So let's use one reroll. Interesting. So there's another Sliver Thorn Archer. Tramples useless because Archer already provides a trample effect, and I'm pretty sure Thorns is also useless because Archer minions don't deal retaliation damage. More Mashfollow Knights could be interesting though. There's also Petal Mage, which is another minion with a play effect. Play this once and then I can keep scaling and keep restoring health. Also a Serene Herb that I draw at the start of battle for some ramp. I don't know, this could be good. I think I'll try it out. And then I might wanna put a -3 cost trinket on the Petal Mage if I fight the Ember Drake and copy a couple of Petal Mages. Get some crazy ramp going. Only if I fight modules though, otherwise I won't be able to utilize the ramp very well. Extra draw if I run out of cards. I mean, I almost ran out of cards at that last battle. +1 draw at the start of battle, or just +5 health. I think I'll pick the +5 health. It's pretty good if you're going for S rank. And then I'll look at the trinket shop. And I'll give the Jolly Bomber more attack power, since I'm kind of building around that. Ooh, by the way, the armor relic on Noxious Arrow, if you go for the Noxious Arrow relic, is also incredible, because you basically start with 9 playable armor in hand. I might put it on Serene Herb though. I think it's the most expensive spell I have beside Noxious Arrow that can get that trinket. And getting some armor on the turn where I ramp to protect myself against damage is quite decent. It does make the draw relic draw trinket quite expensive. But I do have a good chunk of money. And most trinkets that I wanna get aren't be that expensive. Like I want a hothead on Lieutenant Juniper. And that's kind of it. Maybe I want like a barrier on Jolly Bomber, if I see it. But yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. And then I don't need freeze. Although freeze is quite good if I'm going for Lieutenant Juniper. Freeze works well with Archer, because Archer basically has a trample effect, which means if you get like a buffed up freeze trample or freeze Archer, then you double the damage that'll reach the enemy boss. So if I plan on buffing Lieutenant Juniper with the epic trinket from the Ember Drake, this would be a good choice. However, right now I'm leaning towards getting the cost reduction on Petal Mage. -3 mana as another trinket you can get in that fight, and that would be incredible for Petal Mage. A 2 mana ramp that I can re-trigger every turn with the Soul Spark. So I think I'll just keep my money. And I'm fighting the Jolly Bomber. That could be a tough fight. Because his relics combine very well with the mask modifiers. I kind of want to dig for Jolly Bombers. I'll keep the Petal Mage. This is feeling nice. I get a bang. So that is probably how I'm gonna attempt to end the fight. Just play a 1-1 to start with. Yeah, he's gonna add a lot of bombs. I could very well die in this fight, I will say. If I don't draw my Jolly Bomber early enough, then this could get ugly very fast. I mean, I do have the healing with the Battle Mage, which is nice. Let's start pressuring the enemy with some poison a little bit. Yeah, Boombird, it's just gonna... I mean, I do have Bang in hand, so I guess I actually have a good way to deal with the poisons. I mean the bombs. Actually, yeah. Bang is the perfect counter to Bomber Boris, because Bang can remove all the bombs that he's gonna add to my deck and turn them against him. Okay, kind of unfortunate. Would have liked that to hit Spore Whisper, but Battle Mage surviving is the most important bit here. And Outrage on the Bomber. I will re-trigger Jolly Bomber at this point. More ramp is not gonna matter, because I'm already getting close to maximum mana. I just wanna buff up my Blast Mage instead. Okay, that's the perfect target. I have 9 bombs right now. Which means Bang would deal 36 damage. Also, there's one more bomb over in the deck. So this would actually get the win, including the overkill. So yeah. Very clutch Bang. Otherwise, those bombs would have been very scary. Actually didn't realize that I was fighting the Jolly Bomber as the mini-boss. If I knew, then I wouldn't even have thought about picking anything other than Bang at the tavern. Alright, so I get more Battle Mages. I also get Quartermaster Sting, which increases the cost of opponent's spell, notably every opponent's spell, and notably it doesn't increase the cost of your own spells, like compared to the Amorasaur. However, it is also quite expensive. More Battle Mages for more ramp and more healing. There's the Boombird. I love the Boombird. It's rush flying and uncommon, and it adds bombs whenever it hits the enemy hero. It's already pretty decent in its own right, but uncommon means it can get some pretty nice buffs as well. Like +3 power, -1 health is extremely good. For 3 with rush flying, just hit the enemy immediately, hit him hard, and then also add some delayed damage as well. The +2 trinket I added on the Jolly Bomber. Also very good on the Boombird. A lot of uncommon trinkets also add some kind of bulk, like +2 health or tough, which reduces damage taken by 1, or barrier. All of these also very good target to just keep the Boombird on the field and add more bombs. I really love this card. Question is, do I have the space to add it to the deck? I mean, it does come with an extra Incinerate as well. However, it's kind of difficult to pass up on the extra Battle Mages. once I get those panel mages reduced to 2 cost. So what's my plan right now for the deck? Like, my plan right now is get the Jolly Bombers up, re-trigger them as many times as possible for more bombs, then keep the field empty with the Blast Mage, and then eventually get Bang on the field to end the game, right? So that would mean that I would want to put the -3 mana on the Blast Mage, actually. Play it as a 3 instead of a 6. Huge difference. I can follow it up after the Jolly Bomber immediately. Keep the field clean to keep the Jolly Bomber alive. Which does disincentivize me from adding more Petal Mages, because I can't buff the Petal Mage. And instead I would get my Ram from Serene Herb. Like, if I get the Dual Trinket in the next Trinket shop, I would clone Serene Herb, otherwise I would clone Jolly Bomber. Or maybe clone Bang once. And the Incinerate is quite nice. And the Boombird also helps with more bombs. Could also add Grog instead for extra draw. I think I'll go Boombird Incinerate. I will not add the Burst Throw. I've already ranted about how bad Burst Throw is. I'm not gonna even take it, even if it has the mana reduction on it. But yeah, I think Boombird Incinerate is a decent pickup. And then I'm hoping to see some good trinkets over here. And then I can clone something over here. 4 trinkets shop. And Ember Drake. It's kind of funny. Probably overkill though. I do want to get that extra campfire. Okay, draw is awesome. I like draw on the Serene Herb. It's quite expensive, but I think it's worth it. +2 damage I could either put on the Blast Mage or the Bang. I think I'll add enough bombs to the point where Bang doesn't need the extra damage. However, +2 damage on the Blast Mage, especially if I'm planning on discounting the Blast Mage, so that I immediately can play it after the Jolly Bomber turn. I think that's also pretty good. So right now I can either buff my Poison Puff Grenade, or I can reroll and try to get like Barrier for the Jolly Bomber. I'd really like Barrier on the Jolly Bomber. It would cost me 160 gold. I think +1 damage on Poison Puff Grenade is pretty good though. And then I'll just look at these 2 trinket shops for the Jolly Bomber buff and keep my rerolls. As for the clone, I think now that I have super buffed Serene Herb, I'll get 1 Serene Herb clone. Although I should probably clone Bang first, because I need some kill shot against the Ember Drake, and I only get the second campfire after him. So the kill potential from Bang is more important than like the utility from Serene Herb. But yeah, this card is pretty cool. Draw 2 and 3 armor and ram, and I'm guaranteed to see it at the beginning of battle. What's not to like? So I could go to the card shop as well, but I think I'm not really interested in the card shop. There's nothing I wanna remove desperately. I'm also skipping out on a trinket shop where I might see a hothead to enhance the Lieutenant Juniper. So I'll probably go for 2 trinket shop in a row. Fight the Skull Recruit again. But this time without the dangerous relic, so it should be all good. Yeah. I have Blast Mage, I have Bang, only thing missing is the Jolly Bomber. But I think I'll still keep the Grove Keeper. And I'll actually not play anything, I want to keep my coin. Immediately ramp up with the Serena. Yeah. Get a 4, which allows me to clear the board next turn, and then ramp up with Pedal Mage the turn after that. Now get some interesting. Oh no, I did not choose a target for the heal. That's oh, it says targets are chosen randomly, right? Yeah. So I might accidentally heal the enemy when I play that Spark Essence, which isn't too bad, I suppose. Because I want to try getting that Pedal Mage going early anyway. And yeah, just keep adding poisons. Poison Puff Grenade is a little bit of a waste here, but I think I'm doing pretty good here. Yeah, so now I'm at 10 mana, 3 ahead of the enemy. More poison. Still no bomber minions in sight. I'm pretty close to getting my ultimate though. And there's the Jolly Bomber. So he's actually kind of going off right now, but I drew the Jolly Bomber just in time for this to happen. And kill the enemy. Great. So, more poison puff grenades. Yeah, I think I'm kind of alright with that. Although it does slow down my whole bomb plan. Like, I'm already kind of slow on getting my Jolly Bombers or a Boom Bat. I think I'll pick up one more. More trinkets. I get power damage thorns. None of these are particularly interesting to me. Thorns could be alright for the Grove Keeper. +2 damage could be alright for Bang. If I buy the +2 damage trinket, I'll be going down to 170. If I see Hothead and Barrier on the next reroll, I'd be a little upset. I think the odds of that aren't super high. So I will buff my Bang. I'll keep my rerolls because there's another trinket shop. Where I draw Trample Barrier. I want Barrier for the Jolly Bomber. Make it live longer so I can target it with the Spark Essence longer. And then I will still see another trinket shop after the campfire. So I have 3 more chances of seeing Hothead. Ooh, perfect. Got my Bomber, my Mage, and my Bang in one hand. Knight's not really doing a lot in this game, but that's just a consequence of going the bomb route this game. And this will poison me, but I do want to immediately start working on the enemy. Ember Drake can actually be a pretty scary fight. With 3 masks. So his thing is, if you don't kill him before turn 10, he just destroys you. So you kind of have to be quick, and with the extra health, it's harder to be quick. And he has a lot of minions and spells that kind of help him stall a bunch. There goes Draconic Blast. Actually, I will get my ramp going. Okay, this is pretty good. I can place Nilmi to take care of the chests. So yeah. Not Nilmi, Lieutenant Juniper, I mean. Juniper having poisonous is the reason why she really likes that fight. You can kill those chests, which is how you get the trinkets. Which means that the rest of your minions can focus more on getting the enemy down as quickly as possible. It's actually a mistake to place the minions all in one roll, because the enemy has a spell that targets a roll, but so far I have not been punished. I should keep this in mind for the next minions I place. I'm at 4 bombs right now, so I should wait a little bit on pulling the trigger with Bang. I should keep stalling the Dust Drake. These can kind of be annoying, they deal a lot of damage, but if you kill them, they clear the board. So I kind of want to wait at least until Lieutenant Juniper gets the chest. Okay, so now it's kind of become unavoidable. But at least they'll take care of the chest. So I guess I'll add another poison. And then pull the trigger right now. Six, and I don't have any bombs in my deck, so that's even if 2 bombs hit the Dozen Drake, that's 24 damage against the Ember Drake, which kills them. So very worth putting that +2 damage on Bang. Kills the enemy basically just in time. And now I get +3 damage, or cost 3 less on a minion that costs 5 or more, or +3/+3 on an epic. All 3 of those can be very powerful. +3 damage is probably the weakest one, however, for something like Bang, this is an interesting option. +3/+3 is very strong if someone can utilize it. Costs 3 less is best one, I would say, because the difference between playing something on like turn 5 and turn 2 is immense. As you can hopefully imagine. So I'm still a little torn. I mentioned earlier Blast Mage is kind of what I want to do. But it seems with the amount of ramping I'm doing, it's not that necessary to get him down in cost. I don't need Bang or Blast Mage being stronger, so +3/+3 is not that necessary. I mean, +3 damage is not that necessary. I mean, +3/+3 is actually a pretty strong pick. Like a 2-drop for 5 is immensely powerful. I think I want to try out the cheap Blast Mage. I've done a lot of +3/+3 growth keepers in the past. It's definitely always a good choice if you're playing Nilmi. And if you are playing Nilmi, like, always try to fight the Ember Drake and then buff the Grove Keeper. It's always will always turn out pretty well. But I think just because this is quite a unique run, I'm gonna try getting that Blast Mage down in cost. And then I can get a Maya Mush Dragon. Costs 1 less for each poison played this game. If you've ever gone up against the event fight on the Sprout Elf map against Poison Guy, you know that this is a very scary card. If you're playing a bunch of poisons, especially if you're playing like the self-poison deck, where you shuffle your poison back into the enemy hand, so each poison basically gets played twice. This can go down and cost very, very quickly. Come out on like turn 5 or something, where an 8/8 is very threatening and it's flying, so you can't even jump block it. So it's not really what I'm going for though right now. So yeah. So more so Venom Cap. So Quartermaster Sting keeps coming back. Some more Battle Mages. Alright, and if they do provide me healing. Blast is not what I'm interested in. It removes the bomb to deal damage to a targeted minion. Kind of just worse than Blast Mage now. Gaining armor can be alright, I guess. I think one more Battle Mage is alright. I want to keep my pre-rolls. To see a good trinket, like in particular Lieutenant Juniper would still like to get Hothead. Or Boombird. Getting like +3 -1. I could still make Battle Mage cheaper with a -2 mana trinket. I do want to go to the campfire. And I'm almost tempted to duplicate Jolly Bomber instead of Serene Herb. Just almost though. Putting another draw card must be good. +1 power, -1 cost. Barrier. Barrier could be fine on like Boombird. -1 cost could be fine on Grovekeeper. Don't have a real 1-drop, like Spore Whisper is more of a 2-drop because you want to get rid of that poison after you play it. But I'm still gunning for Hothead. Or superpowered Boombird. That's also fine by me. Alright, not seeing Hothead, so Lieutenant Juniper is kind of a little bit weak, unfortunately. Could have taken the barrier. I saw earlier that is one alternative to making Lieutenant Juniper usable, so she can take the hit on a summoning sickness turn against the enemy where you place it against. It's a little bit weaker than Hothead, but still a fine alternative. Instead, I can get Swift Strike or another +3/+1, or a Thorns 2. I don't have another 1 power minion now. Okay, Lieutenant Juniper, but I don't want to weaken her health. So I guess I'll just put some Thorns on Grovekeeper. Putting some power buff on Grovekeeper can be pretty nice because at 1 power it's a bit weak. And yeah, let's go against the boss. So I get the Jolly Bomb immediately, that's very good. I get some removal as well. Let's look for the other combo pieces from the bomb deck. I will not poison myself, because the enemy is probably gonna do that for me. Instead, I will start bombing the enemy. Oh, immediately draws it, I guess. Yeah. Get armored bombs. I will overdraw next turn because of the poison, but at least you can't add any poisons. That's unfortunate. Battle Mage would have been nice, but I can clear the board and dissolve one of the poisons. And kind of want to destroy that bellow so that Jolly Bomber preserves the barrier and chips the boss. Now I can add a bomb, blast away, and now he can kind of just keep doing that. So our plan is going pretty much perfectly right now. Yeah. Making my spells more expensive. Well. Okay. Can do that if you want. Place 4 Whispers. I'll keep that space open and either wanna play Marshfellow Knight over there. I will lock the Fungus Fleetfoot so that I can add more bombs. Well, actually, the Jolly Bomber will take care of the guy instead. But yeah, and I'll add one more bomb for good measure and end the game. Bang. So worked out very well. Third bang run in a row. Basically, although green did contribute in this game with the Serene Herb and the Battle Mage, and it was quite a distinct run. So showing off the power of Soul Spark, showing off the effectiveness of Nilby in the Ember Drake fight. Combo went off pretty nice in the end. Definitely worth picking up that cost reduction on Blast Mage. Definitely worth super buffing that Jolly Bomber. So, I might switch back to dailies for the next couple of runs before going to Starscape Plains and dealing with the masks over there. Although I'm not sure, maybe I'll do the mask runs immediately. Whatever I'll feel like tomorrow, but I'll have an over-explain for that map then, like maybe I'll go over the maps really quick just so you know the modifier that are gonna be coming in the next days or weeks. It's cards from other factions cost one more, or the first one you play each turn at least. Whenever minions deal damage to the enemy hero, they get silenced. I do not like that mass, as you can tell by the fact that I have avoided it on most maps. But I do have ideas how to deal with it. Juggler's Mask, after 8 turns, shuffle a bomb into your deck each turn. So it kind of incentivizing you to going fast. And as any map, you can replace one of those masks with the Rookie Mask instead. So yeah, I hope you had fun watching, and see you next time.